The NBA play-in tournament is here. We're here. We finally, I guess, made it to the postseason. We are underway. It starts today. All right, so today we have the 7 and 8 seeds going against each other in both conferences. The first game is the Hawks traveling to Miami to play the Heat in a game that I expect the Miami Heat to win. They are 5-point favorites in this one. Just overall, the Heat to me is just a better team. Definitely a higher ceiling by far. As far as Atlanta, they just been mediocre. If I'm not mistaken, at one point in time, they were 23 and 23 in their last 46 games. They, within that time frame, had no more than a 2-game winning streak and no more than a 2-game losing streak. So they are the epitome of a 500 mediocre team. Definition of mediocrity, for real. And yeah, I mean, Atlanta do have some dogs on that team, which, Trae Young at times, DeJounte Murray. I mean, I still feel like that was a huge pickup for them in the offseason. Bogdan Bogdanovic, I mean, he can, get buckets too. Clint Capella, I mean, we forget that this team was, a couple years removed from the Eastern Conference Finals. So it's not like they can't play. They just hasn't played up to that level since. I guess ever since they had expectations, because they was, at that point, they was playing with house money, right? They had beat the New York Knicks in the first round. Because that's when, Trae Young was doing all the shivering, antics and stuff in Madison Square Garden. Talking about his code and stuff because, Ice Trae, that's his nickname. And afterwards, I believe they beat the 76ers in the second round, if I'm not mistaken. Then, it looked like they were going to beat the Milwaukee Bucks at one point in time. But Milwaukee, they pushed through and got to the finals and ended up winning it all. But, a lot of things, I guess some things have changed as well. There's no more Nate McMillan. He was the head coach at the time. And, that era has, came and gone already. So, yeah, I mean, Atlanta, I still feel like they are a competent team. But Miami, I feel like Miami can definitely make some noise if they play up to their potential. I said this as a Facebook status last week. The Miami Heat are a first-round exit and a championship contender in the same game. That's how volatile they are. And they kind of been that way for a couple years now. But it's like when they're on, when Jimmy Butler is grooving and Tyler Herro's healthy and getting buckets, Kyle Lowry out there, playmaking and, getting buckets, and Bam Adebayo, Gabe Vincent, when you add Kevin Love, who, solves a lot of rebounding issues that you had in the past. I mean, the team is still undersized, but adding Kevin Love, definitely helps in the rebounding department by far. This team has been together for a while, too. They're veterans. They've been to 2 out the last 3 Eastern Conference Finals, with one of them being a trip to the NBA Finals. This team are no slouches or no pushovers by any means. It's just more so, what version of the Miami Heat are we going to see? Because personally, I would love to see the Heat win this game and play Boston in the first round. Not saying that they will beat Boston, but do I give them an opportunity? Do I give them more than a puncher's chance to win that series? Absolutely. Absolutely. If I'm not mistaken, the Miami Heat had a chance to win the series last year against them in the Eastern Conference Finals. Jimmy Butler had the ball. In my opinion, he took an ill-advised 3 instead of attacking the basket. And just think about it. That Miami Heat team was banged up, could not score the ball at all. Tyler Herro was trying to play. He was on one leg trying to play and took Boston to the final possession of that game at that point with a banged up roster. And I don't think Kyle Lowry was available. It was like the Heat was playing with scraps. It was giving the Celtics all they could handle at one point in time. So yeah, I believe the Heat would give Boston a better matchup than Atlanta. But nevertheless, I mean, both of these teams have the capabilities of doing something. It's just more so we haven't seen it lately. But I feel like Miami can be the team to make things interesting in the first round, for sure. So, here's the major headline, the main game to me. It's the Minnesota Timberwolves going to Los Angeles to play the Lakers. 7th seed, 8th seed Western Conference. They're the second game tonight. The Lakers are about a 7.5 to 8 point favorite, depending on which book you look at. But for me, so there's a couple things with this series. One, I mean, these teams made a trade for each other at the deadline. D'Angelo Russell, Malik Beasley, Jared Vanderbilt, they all came from Minnesota. And I believe Vanderbilt was the one that has revenge on his mind. He wants to beat the Timberwolves. That's one storyline. But I feel like the main storyline is what happened Sunday in the regular season finale with the Timberwolves, who was playing for seeding position just like the Lakers. And in the midst of, of them trying to win the game, there was an altercation between teammates, specifically between Cal Anderson and Rudy Gobert. So during the timeout in that game, there was some words said between Gobert and Cal Anderson. Just to sum it up, I believe, I think Cal Anderson said something to Rudy like, why don't you block some shots? Rudy said, why don't you grab some rebounds? I think some other heated words were exchanged, and Rudy ended up punching him in the chest, and then Cal Anderson had this evil villain smile afterwards, and Rudy Gobert's backing up, and he's the biggest guy on the court, on the team, and got ejected. So according to Adrian Wojnarowski from ESPN, Minnesota's Rudy Gobert escalated a verbal argument to a physical encounter after Cal Anderson told him to shut the F up, B. The disagreement started with Anderson telling Gobert to block some shots, Gobert telling him to grab a rebound, and ended with a punch and Gobert getting sent home. So yeah, that's one part of it. And then another part that supposedly reported, this is what Cal Anderson on Rudy Gobert in an audio caught by a Timberwolves employee. Quote, y'all kiss his quote unquote behind way too much, fill in the blank there, telling me to focus. F is wrong with y'all. Y'all got to make a decision this summer. End quote. So, apparently, Mr. Gobert sounds like he's, wearing out his welcome here. And this couldn't come at the wrong possible time. So Gobert is suspended for tonight's game. Which, couldn't be any much, of bad timing within itself. I mean, granted, it's not like they're the 9-10 game to where the loser of that game is a wrap. So if they end up losing to the Lakers, there's another opportunity, but it's like, I mean, I'm pretty sure they don't want to be in a position if they lose, got to play again. Look at the Clippers last year. The Clippers, end up losing twice and got knocked out the playoffs. One of the losses was by the Timberwolves, coincidentally. So, excuse me. So yeah, it's been, very, very interesting here. And then here's the kicker to all of this. McDaniels, for the Timberwolves, who was probably going to guard LeBron, after the situation happened. There's a video of him, in a tunnel, and he punches the wall, and he ends up fracturing his hand. Therefore, he's out for the rest of the season. On top of everything that happens, that's probably the most significant thing to happen from all of this. Is the fact that he broke his hand now out of frustration, and he's unavailable for the rest of the year. And he was a major component to, their defense. So therefore, there you go. I mean, yeah, that's, McDaniel's fault within his own self for even doing that. But I guess if you, take a step back and look at everything, I guess he wouldn't even thought of doing that had the Gobert and Anderson situation not taken place. Don't you just love this? Don't you just love it? And the last thing I'll bring up with this Gobert thing, just a reminder of what the Timberwolves gave up, or what the Timberwolves gave up in this trade for Rudy Gobert. Malik Beasley, Patrick Beverly, Leandro Balmaro, Walker Kessler, Jarrett Vanderbilt, 4 first-round picks in the years 23, 25, 27, 29, and a 2026 first-round pick swap. All for Rudy Gobert, who's out here punching teammates, which influenced another teammate to punch the wall and break his hand, and now is out for the rest of the year. Congratulations, Rudy Gobert. You are that man. You are a stud. So, yeah, Timberwolves, Lakers tonight. There's a sense that the way that the Lakers been playing, they probably going to end up blowing the Timberwolves out. The only chance I give the Timberwolves here, if Anthony Edwards really comes to play and somehow Karl Anthony Towns actually have less JaVale McGee moments than Rudy Gobert right now and actually plays with the potential that we thought he had when he came out of college. But I don't see it happening, so the Lakers probably going to end up winning. So, yeah, that's tonight's game. And then tomorrow's night's games. These are the 9-10th place matchups. You got my Bulls, 10th seed, going to Toronto to play the Raptors. Then the second game, you got the Thunder and the Pelicans. Now, my Bulls, I don't know what to say. I don't know what team's going to show up. That's been the issue the whole year. But I can say they have played a lot better since they acquired Patrick Beverly from the buyout market. They've been better defensively. They play with, better energy. Zach LaVine has played with better energy, but it's just more so the consistency. At the end of the day, they still play down to their competition and up to the better competition more times than not. I mean, it's the same team that, if I'm not mistaken, was down 23 points to Memphis and ended up coming back and winning that game. And then I believe the following game, they lose, get blown out the water by the Atlanta Hawks without Trae Young. So I don't know what to expect here. So would I be surprised if the Bulls get blown out tonight? Nope. Would I be surprised if the Bulls sneak out a win and get to the next game? Nope. I'm just at this point, I'm over it. If they somehow, make it to the first round and play the Milwaukee Bucks, yay. We saw what happened when they played the Bucks last year. It wasn't even a series, but at least they got a game out of it. At least they didn't get swept. The only team that got swept in the playoffs was the Brooklyn Nets last year by the Boston Celtics. At least they didn't do that. But it's going to take a massive effort from Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan first and foremost. Vooch is going to have to play physical. Don't get pushed over. Patrick Beverly is going to have to, continue to push buttons out there. Patrick Williams, his numbers need to be called. Kobe White need to actually hit some shots and not be a bricklayer out there. Ayo DeSumo got to, play in the moment like he's been doing a lot of times. Caruso got to go out there and get about 4 or 5. I need the effort. I really do. And I need these guys to hit threes. I know that's saying a lot because my team cannot shoot threes whatsoever. But somehow, some way, you're going to have to hit some threes and defend the three. Because, Toronto, they're not bad. They're not great, but they're not bad. Scotty Barnes is not a bad player. Pascal Siakam is a pretty darn good player. Fred VanVleet, he's a pretty darn good player. OG Anunoby, he's not a bad player. And, a lot of those guys, still from the championship team that I just mentioned, outside of Scotty Barnes, was like, these guys have championship DNA. Now, they're not a championship contender by any means. That ship sailed, but it's still kind of hard to, put out somebody that has championship DNA. That's all I'm saying. So I expect Toronto to win, but, we'll see. I'm not holding my breath on anybody on that one. Then the Thunder and Pelicans. So I guess the main storyline is the Thunder did enough to eliminate the Dallas Mavericks from the playoffs, and that's a whole other story within itself. But, the Thunder has defied odds this year. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander has put a lot of people on notice within the league that he is the real deal, and them acquiring him from the Clippers was probably one of the best things they've done in a long time. And this is not even their, final form. Remember, they drafted Chet Holmgren second overall in last year's draft, and he didn't play the whole year because he's out with an injury. So nevertheless, I feel like this season was definitely, a victory for them, win or lose this game. And I know they're going to give the Pelicans everything they can handle, but I still think the Pelicans going to win. What's the sad thing about the Pelicans is we probably won't see Zion at all for the rest of the year. And we do not know how good they will be in the playoffs. But we do know is when Zion was healthy, at one point in time, I'm pretty sure, if I'm not mistaken, this team had the best record in the Western Conference at one point in time, if not top 3 for sure. When Zion was healthy, Brandon Ingram was getting buckets. And CJ McCollum was out there willing and dealing. I'm just saying. So the Pelicans, they're still formidable. They still have played with a lot of energy, a lot of good defense. And remember, this team last year was giving Phoenix all they could handle in the first round. If it wasn't for a Chris Paul historic performance in Game 6, that series would have went 7. And at that point, the way that the Pelicans was playing, nobody was stopping Brandon Ingram. So they might have upset them in the first round if it wasn't for Chris Paul. So yeah, nevertheless, I think New Orleans wins this game. And we're probably going to have New Orleans in Minnesota, and that's going to be a pretty darn good game, which I can't wait for if it plays out how I think it does. All right, so nevertheless, we'll see how all this unfolds. We're going to call it for today. Thursday, we're going to get into the one story I didn't get into today, which is Odell Beckham signing with the Ravens and what that may mean for Lamar Jackson there. We'll get into that Thursday. But continue to rock with your boy right here in the No Offense Radio, No Offense Network. Check me out on social media at JGoodWithSports. We're talking about Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter. And, of course, rock with your boy right here on the JGoodWithSports podcast, wherever you get your podcast from. All right, so you all enjoy this nice weather, especially here in the Chicago area. But, nevertheless, be safe, get money, limit distractions, keep your loved ones close. Until next time, peace.